Okay, so here's what we know. The 49ers are good, and the Ravens are good. And that's it. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. No, seriously, who else is good in this league? Grossi. And today we are going to be breaking down and ranking the top 10 teams heading into week 16. That's right, folks. There are only 3 games left in the regular season, and then we got those sweet, sweet playoffs. However, it is going to be quite the path to get there, and heading into this week, we're going to find out a lot about these top 10 teams, as a lot of them are facing off against one another. And so, before we get into the top 10, I do have to do some honorable mentions here. We got to shout out the Indianapolis Colts defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers, and listen, you were this close from getting on the list, because if the Houston Texans lost, you would have been on. So you're right there. I see what you're doing, Colts. You're holding on to that playoff spot, and you're playing pretty damn good ball. So I got to give you some props. Also, we got to shout out the LA Rams, who took out the Washington Commanders this week. And I know that they lost to the Ravens a couple weeks ago, but they have been looking real good. They are now back in the playoffs, and we'll see if they can hold on to that spot. We also got to shout out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their number 1 team in the NFC South. Baker Mayfield, the only opposing quarterback to have a perfect passer rating in Lambeau Field. A big shout out to them. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks, keeping their playoff hopes alive. Drew Lock leading the team down the field, getting the big win, and so they deserve some props as well. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I know I might get some crap for this, but right now with these power rankings, I feel like what we have to do is just evaluate the teams that are playing the best football right now and not necessarily the best record. And the Eagles, you're off this list right now because they've lost 3 straight, and it has been 3 ugly wins. However, I'm not saying that the Eagles are a terrible football team, because I think there's some perspective that needs to be here, because you look at a team like the Detroit Lions, for example. They have the same exact record, and a couple weeks ago, they were all doom and gloom, and then they had a big win against the Broncos. And the Eagles, they have a pretty easy schedule going forward. They play the Giants twice, including once this week. So Eagles fans, I know things are looking dark and dreary. Jalen Hurts was sick. The defensive coordinator, you brought in Matt Patricia, so that's kind of on you. But the offense looks sluggish as well, and I'm not saying that they're going to do great and go to the Super Bowl, but you're in the postseason. Relax and just enjoy the ride, and we'll see what you can do when you get to the dance. So, with all that being said, starting off with number 10, you got the Houston Texans. And here's why the Texans are on this list. Because the Titans, they had a huge win over the Dolphins on Monday Night Football last week. It was pretty damn impressive. Also, it was horrible for the Dolphins because boy, oh boy, that collapse. But the Titans had a lot of momentum dressing up as the Oilers. And I know Houston fans are not particularly happy about that. And they went in there with no CJ Stroud, got it done in overtime, so much that they had to score twice in overtime because the touchdown got called back for holding. And I got to give them some props here, because Houston football fans, they really want those Oilers jerseys back.
Very much like to hold it again one last time.
And they went in and said, never mind. Nope, the Titans blew it in Oilers fashion. So maybe they can keep it. But the Texans, with a big win here, keeping their playoff hopes alive. And all of a sudden, there is a 3-way race in the AFC South between the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Texans. And if I'm putting it all together, the Jaguars right now, they are looking rough. They are off the top 10 as well. Trevor Lawrence got banged up again, concussion protocol. Hopefully he's okay, because he's been taking a bunch of shots this year. And the Texans, who were missing CJ Stroud and also had to mount a comeback against a good Titans defense, they deserve some props here. So I'm going to put them at number 10. We'll see if CJ Stroud returns this week. And if so, those Texans playoff hopes are going to be in full swing. Then number 9, you got the Kansas City Chiefs floating around where they were last week, but they able to get a win against the New England Patriots, and that first half of that game was pretty darn close, and I know there's issues once again with Kadarius Toney, and I imagine that Mahomes is going to be talking to whoever is matched up with Toney this week.
I want him out of commission.
But Sensei, I can beat this guy.
I don't want him beaten.
But I'll be disqualified.
Out of commission.
But the Chiefs in the second half really took over that game, and they should. It is against the New England Patriots, who have been pretty darn terrible this season. Of course, the Patriots' defense is still good, but for the Chiefs, this is a kind of game where they needed to just get right a little bit. And I know they're playing the Raiders this week, who just put up 63 points, and the Chiefs ultimately, I think, are going to be fine. They're still going to win the division because the Broncos, they lost against the Lions, so those hopes are dwindling quickly. And the Chiefs, besides that game against the Bengals, they don't have the toughest schedule remaining. So they'll likely be in the postseason sooner rather than later, and they're going to stick at number 9. It's going to be a matter of, can a guy like Rashee Rice really become that wide receiver 1? He's definitely shown those flashes. He had a nice game against the Patriots. So can he be that guy when Travis Kelce is going to get blanketed by opposing defenses? And could they do well in the playoffs? They have the experience. Let's see what they do when they get there. Number 8, you got the kitty goes meow Cincinnati Bengals with a comeback overtime win against the purple incarnation of Satan, the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, and I just loved hearing Jake Browning talk about why he hated the Vikings.
Why? Because f*** them, that's why.
If we didn't have Jordan Love, I'd want that man as my quarterback. Because he gets me. But seriously, the Bengals having an insane comeback victory against the Vikings, going against Brian Flores' defense, which is just really damn good this year. And of course, you have Nick Mullins on the opposing side, so that makes things a little bit easier. But the Bengals have proven that they are a battle-tested team, and they are currently in the playoffs. Now, we'll see if they're able to hold on to that spot because they haven't clinched it yet. And of course, it's unlikely they're going to win their division because the Browns are doing well and the Ravens are playing well. So that's going to be tough. But the Bengals are going to be a team that I don't think many people are going to want to play in the playoffs if they make it there. And so the Bengals have come a long way from losing Joe Burrow. Jake Browning is leading the charge right now. I do like the diversity in the play calling. Joe Mixon getting a little bit more involved. And so, yeah, Bengals, you deserve a spot in the top 10. Let's hope you can hold on to it. Number 7, you got the Dallas Cowboys. Still holding on the top 10, but oh, they're taking a tumble. They were number 2 last week for me, and they got absolutely rocked this week against the Buffalo Bills, which, oh, that's gotta hurt after talking trash all week, Cowboys fans.
Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry.
And the Cowboys just had no answer for James Cook, and Josh Allen really didn't have to do anything. The Cowboys defense couldn't do anything. The Cowboys offense couldn't move the ball efficiently, and it was just ugly. And there are some definite concerns about the Cowboys. Luckily for them, the Eagles lost on Monday night, so they could still win that division. But the Cowboys, they got some tough games, including one against the Dolphins coming up. But the Cowboys, they did clinch a playoff spot because you had the Falcons lose this week. However, of course, the way they got into the playoffs, you're not really going to like that. But ultimately, Dallas, I think they're a good football team. They're just a better football team at home. So right now, they're sticking it at number 7, and we'll see how they do against Miami because they could go either up or further down. Number 6, you got the Detroit Lions. Welcome back into the top 10. I know I got some flack for leaving them out of the top 10 last week, but come on, Lions fans, you got to give me some slack here. You lost to the Bears, lost to the Packers. Things were not looking good, all right? And now you are back. And I got to give some kudos to the Lions because they came out roaring against the Denver Broncos at Ford Field. Their defense looking great. They're about to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. Their offense was really efficient. Gibbs is just a monster. And Lions fans, legitimately, of course, we give each other a lot of crap, but I got to give you some respect and I got to give you some congratulations because the Lions, they are about to watch their team for the first time ever win the NFC North.
I can almost taste it.
All they have to do is beat the Minnesota Vikings, and they get it done, and I think that's going to be likely this week. And yeah, from one Packers fan to Lions fans, congratulations. We'll be coming for you next year. But Enjoy this moment. The Lions right now back on track, heading into the playoffs. They could be facing against a Green Bay Packers if they actually win some games, or maybe a Matthew Stafford homecoming. We will wait and see. But if this Lions defense can show up like this, like they did on Saturday, they are going to be a tough team to beat in the NFC. So they're back in the top 10 at number 6. Enjoy your victory, Lions. You've earned it. Number 5, you got the Miami Dolphins holding up in the top 10 and in the top 5 because they're trying to be the best team in the AFC after thrashing the New York Jets.
Whoa, little man. You still can't go in.
Well, that makes me pretty mad.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I might have to beat someone up just to get rid of all this blind fury.
What about that guy?
And of course, the Jets are not a good football team, but that defense is no joke. And the Dolphins, without Tyreek Hill, had themselves a day. Jalen Waddle being their leading receiver. Tua also hopefully shaking off some narratives that team is nothing without Tyreek Hill. And I think also alleviating some fears because maybe there was some thoughts that, oh God, the Dolphins are going to collapse again. But the Dolphins getting a big win over a division rival, still in contention for that AFC East title, though here come the Buffalo Bills. We'll talk about them soon. But the Dolphins, listen, they're playing the Cowboys this week. That is a huge game being played in Miami. And both these teams, they got some narratives against them about beating winning teams that are not so great. The Dolphins can shut up those narratives if they defeat the Dallas Cowboys this week, but it's also the same for the Dallas Cowboys. I know they beat the Eagles, but the Eagles are having a tough time right now. So the Dolphins remaining in the top 5. We'll see where they are next week. But Miami, you got the Dolphins. Number 4, you got the Cleveland Browns. Oh, the Browns defeating the Chicago Bears, and that game was on all of the drugs. The Browns able to come back, Joe Flacco throwing all those interceptions, but then proving all of the doubters wrong yet another week.
I mean, honest to God, that's all I think. Watch me. If you think I don't have the energy level or the mental acuity, then that's one thing.
Because Joe Flacco giveth and taketh away, and also giveth away again, throwing more interceptions. But doesn't matter. Joe Flacco, that dart to Amari Cooper for that touchdown. And of course, they almost lost it on a Hail Mary attempt. And I got to give some props to the Browns because you might be wondering, wait a minute, they beat the Bears. They're not really good. But the Bears just beat the Detroit Lions before. Their defense is much better. And the Browns defense stepped up big time. Of course, they're going to kind of ride or die with Joe Flacco, whether he's throwing interceptions or scoring touchdowns. They're going to go as far as Joe Flacco is going to take them. Their defense is still, in my opinion, the best in the NFL. They match up right there with the Ravens and, of course, the 49ers. But the Browns, we'll see how far their offense can take them as they are continuing to head to the postseason. But Cleveland, congrats on the win. Let's see how far you go. Number 3. That's right, we getting spicy. You got the Buffalo Bills because, in my opinion, the Ravens are playing really good football and the Ravens are above the Bills right now. But the Bills are looking like one of, if not the most dangerous team in the AFC. They've been a completely different team ever since Ken Dorsey got fired, and it's the way that they're winning. Josh Allen has been playing well, but they just ran the ball. And for me, just watching the Bills over all these years, finally, you just run the ball. That's what they've needed to do. Create some balance. And Josh Allen didn't even have to do anything. He said he was like that kid in a group project and they got an A and he didn't even have to participate. So yeah, the Bills, they're winning in a multitude of ways. James Cook has also been a great receiving threat. And the Bills had to be like this before blowing out the Cowboys.
This is my house. I have to defend it.
So Buffalo, with their tough schedule, still has a shot to make it into the postseason, and I can guarantee you no team in the AFC wants to play them if they make it there. They do have a date at the very end of the season against the Miami Dolphins, and that could determine who wins the whole damn division. So Bills, you are in the top 3 for me right now because you're playing some really impressive football. Enjoy it, and we'll see if Buffalo goes all the way this time. Number 2, you got the Baltimore Ravens, who are the only team in the AFC to clinch a playoff spot as of now, so they don't want to hear nothing from nobody.
Talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. Who the Do you think you're talking to?
The Ravens putting on a show on Sunday Night Football against the Jaguars, and I know the Jaguars spent the whole first half shooting themselves in the foot, and that could have been a closer game, but that second half was dominated by the Baltimore Ravens, and I know Trevor Lawrence was shaken up, but Lamar Jackson was just making incredible plays, Isaiah Likely just looking so damn good, and while they did look really good, they clinched that playoff spot, they unfortunately did lose Keaton Mitchell for the season, who has been electrifying in that backfield, so they are going to rely on Gus the Bus Edwards to lead them through to the postseason. I know Melvin Gordon is back as well, but don't put a lot of faith or balls in his hands because he's probably going to fumble them. But the Ravens are looking so good. Their defense is phenomenal. Their offense is electrifying. Lamar Jackson is having an MVP-like season. And you gotta love what the Ravens are doing. They are gonna have their toughest test yet against the San Francisco 49ers on Christmas, and it is going to be a phenomenal game and one I can't wait for. And if the Ravens are able to pull off that win and show the 49ers are beatable right now, oh, watch out. Because you look at the Ravens, they are Super Bowl favorites in the AFC, and this week didn't change that one bit. And number one, no shock here, you got the San Francisco 49ers, who, it was a game for at least a little bit with the Arizona Cardinals, but then walking away with it. CMC having an amazing game, and oh boy, Brock Purdy haters, after watching him become the favorite for MVP,
Oh my God. I get it.
but legitimately, Brock Purdy is a really damn good player. He's having a phenomenal season. QB rating is off the charts, and the 49ers are just playing near perfect football. They have so many weapons on offense. Of course, they have the Deebo Samuels, George Kittles of the world, CMC, and Brock Purdy. It's like, oh no, which one of them is going to get MVP? That's a pretty great problem to have. Their defense is damn good, and they look like the most complete and balanced team, not only in the NFC, but in the NFL. The 49ers did clinch their division, the only team in the NFL to do so, and rightfully so. That matchup with the Ravens is going to show a lot about what both teams are made of, and I just can't wait to see it. So yeah, 49ers at number one. Let's see if the Ravens can dethrone them. Papa caca. So just to recap, at number one, you got the 49ers, 2 Ravens, 3 Bills, 4 Browns, 5 Dolphins, 6 Lions, 7 Cowboys, 8 Bengals, 9 Chiefs, and 10 Texans. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be on this list? Should it be the Colts? Should the Eagles still be hanging around? The Rams even? Let me know. You can always send me at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.